expressed on this special broadcast of the Take 12 radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
A very scary experience.
You know, God is a solution. God, the 12 step.
I like where he's going here.
Helps the community grow, helps us grow. Monty has done a phenomenal job.
And you're talking about taking people through a spiritual process and getting them into recovery.
Thanks, Monty, and thanks for all your support.
We need spirituality to make this thing work long term.
It's an absolute pleasure. He certainly knows a lot of people.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
And now, broadcasting on location somewhere in the vast expanse of the Pacific Northwest, it's the over-opinionated 12-stepologist, the Monty'man.
That's right. Well, greetings one and all, and welcome to another episode, a holiday episode of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. If you're watching on YouTube, hopefully this thing produces right this time. There is Vid. There's David Fleming with his little elf bell hat. Well,
you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Yeah. Are you Grinchy, Dave?
Depends on who you ask.
Ah, so perception is everything, right? Maybe. Well, welcome aboard.
It's your perception.
Ah.
Is your everything.
Yeah. Well.
But your perception may not be reality.
It may not be. It may not be. As a matter of fact, people may have a resentment based on something that's not reality. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. The topic for this week's show, let's build a resentment. Yeah, it's a holiday tradition, right? Why not?
Not one of mine holiday traditions.
I hope it's not mine either. But for a lot of people, this is the time of year that they like to construct these things and, hold things over people's heads like in-laws and other family members and things like that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But right off the bat, I want to let y'all know that if you do like holiday music, and some of you absolutely do not like holiday music, I do. Yay! Yeah, I like holiday music. If you do, you can visit our website at take12radio.com and click on the little microphone that has a Santa hat, very much like the one I'm wearing right here. And you get holiday music to your heart's content. We've partnered up with Hope 107.9 FM here in the Willamette Valley, but of course, our station reaches worldwide because we are internet. So there you go. All right. So we're going to be talking about resentments a bit, it being a holiday tradition. And of course, wait a minute.
Excuse me, everybody, but Montyman, you almost forgot your Christmas whine of the year. The one time a year where you whine about something that has to do with Christmas. So go ahead. We just can't wait. We're just so excited.
With the flying monkeys on their way?
All right, the Weekly Whine. This is not going to be popular, but I got to get it out of the way. I really struggled whether I was even going to bring this up, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? So the church is going to remain nameless.
Oh,
I would love to name them, but I am not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. But my wife and I watched a a video presentation that a specific church happened to put on of the Christmas story, the birth of the Christ child, right? And as I'm watching this thing, I could not believe what I was seeing. For a minute, I thought I was in like a kindergarten, class watching a cartoon or something. And there's cartoons with talking animals and stuff that depict the coming of Jesus that is made for little kids, right? VeggieTales does a very good job of it. Davy and Goliath. I don't know if you remember Davy and Goliath years ago. But there's stuff like that. But this is the one opportunity that you have that perhaps many unbelievers are going to show up on your doorstep for a Christmas presentation. And this is what you chose to do. I could not believe it. And so amongst some of the antics that were going on was Joseph explaining to the audience how he was amazed. Why would God choose him and Mary? Valid question, right? But he's accompanied by a giant stuffed donkey that is obviously a human being in a donkey suit, and not even a real looking donkey, definitely a cartoon kind of donkey, right? Who's doing a really poor imitation of Eddie Murphy's donkey from Shrek. And they're cracking jokes. Well, when the shepherds get here in the morning, we're going to have waffles. And I mean, the whole dialogue is this donkey cracking these stupid jokes about the Christ child coming and his part in it, and Joseph and him having this dialogue. Later on, an angel appears named Clara. Now, Clara needs to earn her wings, and the only way she can earn her wings is if she convinces the shepherds to go out and announce the coming of the Christ child. In order for her, it's all about her. It's all about Clara, right? In order for Clara to earn her wings. Now, this is a takeoff on Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life, right? And the acting in it was so bad. The shepherds were like, this bright light appears and they're falling over scared to death. And the angel is talking about, I got to earn my wings. I got to earn my wings. And the whole thing, it was like a mockery, Dave. I'm telling you, it was like, how could anybody take this seriously? Now, listen, here's the deal. This whole story, whether you are a Christian or not, this has been a sacred story handed down through the ages. Most people will agree with that. This is a serious thing. This is the story of God stepping into humanity, becoming flesh, and dwelling among us, and offering himself up as the ultimate sacrifice for the world's problems. And this particular church made fun of the whole thing. I could not believe what I was watching. Now, I don't for a minute think that they intentionally were making a mockery of it. I think their heart was in the right place. But man, come on, people, wake up. This is a very serious and humble and reverent event. And to turn it into talking donkeys and angels that have to earn their wings based on whether the shepherds, I don't know.
Somebody wanted to connect with all of the modern.
Yes, exactly.
Plays on the story.
That's exactly what I think.
Cartoons and movies and yeah, to me that's a compromise on your
it's
principles.
It's what old Bible college buddy of mine, Tim Brown, says. This is an example of the deconstructing of one's faith. we're not just reconstructing. It's like we're taking the Bible and saying, okay, if the love of Jesus isn't everything, then anything in the Bible that isn't love, we're going to discount it, and we're going to deconstruct the biblical account of everything, and we're not even reconstructing our faith; we're deconstructing it. And this is going on in what is called now progressive Christianity. Being all things to all people. This is, again, like I said, this is the one opportunity to really, witness the coming of our Savior, and it turned into a mockery. And I'm so disappointed in these folks. I know these folks, and yeah. So,
well,
there you go.
The dark side has been tearing down.
And it's in the church.
It's in the church, but there's also a portion of the church that has no clue what's actually going on in the background, and so they're being confused and misled and all kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay.
It will come out.
It will. It will all come out in the wash. All right. There's my little whine. All right, don't go away. We'll be back with the topic right after this. Hey everybody, it's the Monty'man, and by now you have heard me talk about 12 essential insights for emotional sobriety, getting your recovery unstuck. The new book by Dr. Alan Berger, PhD. Listen, Dr. Berger is a Take 12 Recovery radio contributor, and in his new book, 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, you will find out the essential tools for getting unstuck from a dull, boring recovery that you may have found yourself in, especially during the holiday season. I want you to get this book, I really do, and I'd like you to get one for someone that you care about. Visit Dr. Berger's website at abphd.com and get yours today. Also available on Amazon. That's 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety. All right, welcome back to the show, the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, one of our holiday shows here at KHLT Recovery Broadcasting. Dave Fleming is with us, and Roger McDermott normally would be, but he's had some problems with leaky pipes or something down in Southern California, so he's working on that. But listen, today, Dave, is actually Roger celebrating 26 years. Clean and sober.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we definitely want to give Roger a cheer. Yeah. Good job, Roger. Yeah, we better clap for him too, right? Hey. All right. Yeah, I can't forget that. Roger, thank you so much, brother, for all your contributions to Take 12 Recovery Radio. And, gosh, happy sobriety birthday. We really, really do appreciate you very, very much. And all of those who have, participated in the success of Take 12 Recovery Radio over the last 18 years, thank you so much. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. So why do people have a sense of resentment around the holidays? Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. The holidays are a prime time for feelings of resentment and its close relative, self-pity. Resentment occurs when there is perceived injustice. It could be a real or imagined grievance. We talked about perception, right? But regardless, we feel that injustice is happening to us. We are all entitled to those feelings, but it's how we react to them that is important. There are a great many reasons why we might feel resentment, possibly our expectations of what the holidays should look like. which may be nothing of how you are expecting it. It could be family members not playing their part. It could be a church service making a mockery of the coming of the Christ child, right? And I'm going to talk about why that is not a resentment on my part in just a minute. You may find yourself buying gifts, shopping for food, providing entertainment, putting out the decorations, inviting the guests, or just doing everything while other people are sitting around and having a good time. Then there could be a sense that we are missing out on all the fun. Maybe we have not been invited to a party, or we're expected to be at a family function when friends are going out on the town. We may expect too much of ourselves during the holiday season and trying to work and run the house and feel resentful that we cannot be out connecting with others. So let us not forget about the expense. Holidays are expensive, which can trigger feelings of resentment, especially if you're footing the bill for the food, the drinks, the gifts, the entertainment, all of that hard-earned money gone in a couple of weeks. It can get really expensive. So there's a number of reasons why people build resentments during the holidays. One of my favorite sayings, Dave, is when you're over at the in-laws' house for the holidays, learn the art of keeping your mouth shut, particularly when you know you're right. That will help. I'm wondering if this is more common in larger families where there's large gatherings of people during the holidays. I don't know. So one of the things I want to explain is why I do not have a resentment towards this church that I think misrepresented the coming of Christ, is because it's an observation I made. I'm not mad at them. I'm not going to bed and waking up thinking about it and it's bothering me and ruining my day. You know what I mean? It's not something it's just an observation I made. I think you can make observations and go, yeah, that's probably not appropriate, or, that could be offensive without it knocking you off your emotional balance beam, right? And not build a resentment over it. But you had your pipes burst or something, and you said, was that a resentment? And I said, no, it was an observation, right? You observed something was wrong with your house, and
I was joking.
No. But I don't know. Do you think that this resentment thing in the holidays is probably more prevalent amongst larger families? I'm guessing maybe.
I don't think there's any one way or another that it leans.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best way to say it. Because as I'm thinking, you've got large families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you've got large families that are not connected. Then you got large families that are connected. Then you got large families that aren't your family at all, like your biological family. It could be your recovery family.
Oh, yeah, true.
Maybe you don't like large gatherings.
Gatherings, yeah.
Right? And so maybe you don't have a family at all, but you've built some relationships during the year. And, I could see where people in recovery might form a resentment if they're not invited anywhere.
Yeah, because we got that stigma that surrounds us sometimes, right?
There's so many things because it depends on each person and how they act, right? As we were talking about perception earlier, right?
Right.
If someone walks around and you perceive them as looking at you with anger or scowling at you, right? You might think, well, why is that person mad at me?
Yeah.
Where it might not have anything to do with you at all. Maybe they're just got a bad phone call that somebody died in their family, or somebody's in the hospital and maybe they're in a treatment program and can't do anything about it. Can't get out, can't make a phone call. Or maybe they have a back injury that they're in constant pain, and so it shows up on their face. And so we can't always assume that just because someone looks grumpy that they're
it's about you.
Mad, right?
Yeah. I would say probably a lot of the time, if not most of the time, it really isn't you.
Oh yeah, right. It's 99% of the time it's someone else's issue.
Sure. I the reason I said large families is because I guess with more people there's more chance to be conflicts. But I've watched. I was going to say I've watched large families come together at the holidays, and there's this competition, almost childish, immature kind of thing. But then I was thinking about it. Some of these families that I know, they act that way all year long anyway. I don't know that the holidays are anything special.
Well, or you have the opposite of that, right? Where the family gets together at Christmas and then not at all the rest of the year.
Right.
Resentments can form after the fact because it's like, okay, now I'm at the family gathering. And again, here it is another year I'm at this family gathering and I'm have these resentments towards all these people because they never called me during any other part of the year.
Sure.
But you always have to look at who did you call?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see where resentments happen from that side of it. I've experienced some of them.
One of the ways I think that we construct resentments, how we build them, and may I just say that I truly believe that people don't give them to us. I believe we build them ourselves. People can contribute. I mean, but I think the brick and mortar of the resentments, at least in my life, when I look back at them, I was mixing the mortar. I was gathering the bricks. I was building that sucker, right? And I think sometimes resentments in the construction of them can be premeditated. I've already made up my mind going over to so-and-so's for the holidays or going to that 112-step meeting that I know that guy's there. I've already made up my mind that I'm going to have a bad day because so-and-so is going to show up. And so I've already laid the groundwork, and they haven't even done anything.
Right.
Right? I've done that.
Again, perception, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Here's a tip. There's a couple here in dealing with this stuff. Tip number 1. Acknowledge your feelings.
Wow.
Feelings.
Well, that's just stupid.
What if you don't know what feeling you're having?
Well, the first thing is to acknowledge those feelings of resentment. So if you know it's a resentment, to go ahead and acknowledge that you have it. But how many times do we not want to do that because we want to hold on to the resentment?
Well, I mean, the way you're talking about it, it's like I'm supposed to know, yes, this is a resentment towards Monty Meyer.
Yeah.
Or no, this isn't. It's, I mean, a lot of it has to do with feelings, right?
Sure.
And how that person, place, or thing makes you feel. So if I don't really know how I'm feeling about a situation, how do I know if it's a resentment? Or even know what a resentment is? I only know what a resentment is because somebody described it, right?
Yeah.
About in going through the recovery literature.
Sure.
You know, that's where we learn these things from. Or we could look up the word in a dictionary or whatever.
But if you've never experienced any of that,
if you don't know what it is, you have to be taught what it is. And sometimes it can be a long, drawn out process, or it can be a short one. I mean, if you're aware and,
right,
emotionally mature and stable and all that, you may be able to notice these things right away. All I know is I didn't know what these things were for the longest time, even into my recovery, even knowing about, talking about resentments, right? We talk about the 4-step and all that stuff. But the reality is like, if I have, I didn't really realize that I was still having these resentments towards other people that I hadn't let them go because I expected a certain thing to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I expect that person to apologize or expect them to at least acknowledge that they did something. Where the reality is, they may not have ever remembered that they did anything wrong because no one told them they did anything wrong.
They may not know it all. Yeah.
That's the way they did it is the way they did it because that's what they were taught by their parents and their parents' parents and, you know. So we sit here, you know, for my case is like I had these resentments towards people that I just stopped talking to them. Like, how do they know that I have an issue with them? How do they know that they did something wrong? So I'm sitting here, like you said, getting the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And I'm building that, you know, closet inside the wall, right? You ever see where you you brick it up and there's, you know,
dead body.
My resentment's inside there, right? Well, you don't know what resentment is, right? It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, which is an old cliche, but it's really right on target, very much on target.
Yeah.
And you know, but I hear what you're saying. I didn't know. I got told by my 12-step sponsor. I said, "How do I know I have a resentment?" And he says, "Well, if you wake up in the morning and you're still pissed off, you probably do." But I never knew that. I thought, and that was a tool that became a tool of mine. But I never knew that. I never even thought to think about that before.
That's just one. I mean, it sometimes can be very subtle. Like you can wake up and be perfectly fine, right? And then something happens, or you run into that person, or someone that looks like that person, and all of a sudden,
there you go again.
You know that tension gets built up. You start feeling the stress. Maybe in your stomach, maybe in your chest, maybe in your shoulders, you know, and we're not sitting there going, oh, that's resentment. Better write that down. Right? All we know is that we feel there's something about this person that irritates us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Or they did something wrong to us. Right? That perceived, real or perceived
real or imagined. It's real to you, real or imagined. So I think this is where, for those who do have learned and have been, you know, walking through, learning how to apply the spiritual disciplines of the 12-step process, for instance, where sometimes we can rest on our laurels. This is an area where maybe tip number 2 is be assertive. Be assertive in your application of what you already know.
Communication.
You know, one of the things that I've watched in large families when it comes to things around the holidays, for instance, is a lot of times there's 1 or 2 people that are doing all the work.
Yep.
You know, jump in there and help. You know.
Well, I think that's with a lot of big families. You always have that one person or that one family, you know, the husband and wife team that basically keep everybody connected.
Yeah.
Right? And then if something happens to them, and then all of a sudden, poof, like nobody talks to each other. 10 years go by, 12 years go by.
That is so true, man. My wife, she's would be considered the peacemaker in her family, right? And she's more like her mom than any of her sisters. And the sisters are more like each other than their mom. But Marcia is more like her. And her mom, she was one of these people that, you know, when she bought Christmas presents for the grandkids, right, they all had to have equal value, you know, and she was very careful to do that. Not that anybody cared, but she was very focused on that, right? And so we'd all sit back and go, Mom, you don't have, just because you spent that much money on this person doesn't mean you got to do that. But she was the caretaker. Everybody has to be at peace, you know. Yeah. But the positive attribute about that was she was extremely kind and gentle and soft spoken, and people made fun of her, right?
Yeah.
But she was the peacemaker. Well, Marcia's the peacemaker. You know, her sisters can be at each other, and Marcia's the one in the middle, trying to keep it together and, wanting the family to not lose contact with each other.
Yeah.
Her mom was always afraid that would happen. I think that's natural for a parent. And, in a big family, I don't want the kids to lose contact or be mad at each other when I'm gone and that guy. Well, Marcia's kind of like, she wants her brothers and sisters to continue to communicate and love each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I was just, kind of find it humorous as you're talking about the present thing, because we did the same thing with our kids. Like, when we were in Minnesota, I remember like the first year we started this crazy routine where it was like, we didn't know what we were going to do for Christmas. Like, we had no money. And it was the first Christmas that we were actually in our own place. Yeah. And so we signed up for every program, Secret Santa and Adopt a Family and
all this
stuff that they had available to help families out, especially around the holidays. And then all of a sudden stuff started trickling in, and pretty soon by Christmas Eve, we literally had 100 presents under our tree.
Wow.
And we were like thinking, we're not going to have anything because we have no money. We know nobody. We're just kind of and it's like, it was crazy. And then it started this thing where as the years went by, Christmas came around and we would be like, okay, so we're going to get each one 2 things. And then it was like, well, I found this thing here. I've been looking for this for her for all this for a year and a half, and I just had to get it. So now we got 3, maybe 4, and it's like, okay, so now we got to get 3 and 4 for the other one over here. Yeah. And sometimes it would go back and forth, and pretty soon each one would have 10 or 12 presents. Where it was just like, okay, let's keep the budget to this, and but it was out of that joy. Part of it was like we wanted our kids to have a better life, but we got joy out of doing that. The whole process.
Yeah.
Being together, as parents and going out and shopping and getting all these things, and then sitting together and wrapping presents and hiding out in the bedroom while the kids are in the other room watching TV. What are you guys doing in there?
Yeah. That's great. That's good stuff. Well, getting involved, that's another thing. And we talk about it in recovery all the time, right? You want to get over yourself, go help somebody else, right? That's like a main thing in the rooms of recovery. Well, do it at the holidays. I mean, get together. You and I know a guy named Marcus, right? Now, Marcus has kind of put together this thing called Dirtbag Ministries. And so at Thanksgiving time, I was so proud of him because at first I'm like, okay, we'll see if he follows through. And he did. He got a whole bunch of people together. They got socks and warmers and food and stuff, and they brought it together. And they just went out and found people that had nothing, and they gave it away. Boy, you want to get out of yourself, get into somebody else.
I always wondered what ended up with him. He was supposed to call me after he got out. Hey, Marcus, call me.
No,
but yeah, you know how that goes. Actually, I have a new number anyway, so.
Here's tip number 3. Be kind to yourself. I think during the holidays, we can get so wrapped up in, I got to look a certain way. I got to dress a certain way. I got to be this. I be that. Oh, my gosh, I haven't lost any weight this year. Blah, 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 blah. Have fun, man. Be good. Be kind to yourself. Our brother, Denver, we used to tease him when he would be the Grinch, right? And he hated Christmas time and all that stuff. And yet he was one of the most giving people. He was always buying donuts for people and giving stuff away and all that kind of thing. And I think there's a lot to be said to that.
Well, that's just a good example to be doing something good for someone all the time.
And when you do
not
that,
just at Christmas.
No, all the time. Let the Christmas be the launching pad for the next year, and keep doing it.
Right.
But be kind to yourself.
Right.
Easy does it can apply to take it a little easier on yourself than you have been. That's something to do. So there's just a number of things you can do to help you not build those resentments. But I think for me, I think the biggest thing is I have to watch out for the premeditated ones, the ones that, we talk about, like in Narcotics Anonymous, for instance, there is a lot of mention about reservations, right? We can't have reservations like that one bottle of beer in the back of the fridge to remind us not to drink it, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we have reservations with our resentments. Okay, I'm going to forgive you, but I'm not going to forget this. And I'm going to hold on to this just in case.
Why do you need to say that?
I know. Yeah. Right.
Well, I think where I learned to get past all that finally is where I faced that resentment, and I got to the point where I had to forgive the person and the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't condone it. I don't, but I got to forgive that person, because if I don't, I'm the one that's eating me up, right? I'm continuing to drink the dang poison.
Right.
Sooner or later, it's going to do me in. And so I decided that I don't want to do that. There's no reason for it.
I really am a mean and despicable creature at heart,
Wow. Talk about perceptions. Why did you play that?
Yeah, well, I don't know. So there's
forming a resentment.
It doesn't have to be the holidays. There's plenty of opportunities to build yourself a resentment. There's enough, there's enough recipes for resentments and content for resentments to build resentments all day long. And if that's what you want to do, that's rough. That's a rough life. But I know there's people listening right now that are thinking, yeah, but you don't know what this person did, or you don't know how difficult, you don't know my pain. Yeah, you're right. I don't, but I do know this, that one of my favorite statements in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is in regards to this thing called resentments. And it says that from it form all sorts of spiritual disease, not alcoholism, resentments. And that it kills more people than anything. I mean, congestive heart failure, things related to stress. I mean, gee, gads, and this is the time of year. Do I enjoy the commercialization of the holidays? Not really, but I had a resentment towards that for a long time, and I finally just said, wait a minute, right? And I said this on one of our shows the other day. You got all these beautiful lights twinkling all over the place. You got happy, zippy-dippy Christmas music, that's positive. The prices in the stores are cut in half. What's there not to like, except for the traffic and Aunt Margie, but I'm like...
And the angry people.
And I'm like, you know what? I am going to be intentional about enjoying this time of year so I can launch forth with the coming year and walk into that with some gratitude. And I think that is the main tip. If you can find things to be grateful for, your likelihood of building and holding on to resentments is going to be less. True?
Yep. I was just sitting here thinking that, one thing, if you follow this line of thinking or logic, or used to, you can relate, right? If everyone would just do things my way,
that's
would
right.
Be fine. When I stopped living like that, that's when I stopped forming resentments, you might say, right? Because now it isn't like there's multiple ways of doing stuff. Like, you want to do it that way, that's fine. Example I always give is getting to Albany, right? From Sweet Home. There's 3 different ways to go.
Oh, good.
Each
good
way,
analogy.
no matter which way you go, you're going to get there.
Yeah.
My way, might be quicker or slower. I don't know, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the goal is to get from point A to point B,
sure.
It's like, who cares, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of things in life that we can have an attitude about, and then start with that, forming that resentment, because you could say, well, this person is pushing back on something, right? And you start having to get a little irritated with this. Why doesn't this person just listen to what I say or do things the way I, right? And so then they go on their way. Next week you run into them again. Maybe it's at that meeting, right? And all of a sudden the same feeling that you had that you
right?
That might be a sure telltale sign that you're forming resentment or have formed one, right?
Mm. I think when I hear "yeah, but," that tells me, if I'm saying that tells me that I'm not willing to let go of it yet.
Right.
I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I know that's the case. I've got a reservation there, and I want to hold on to it for a while.
Well, it's hard to know how to let go. What is that? I mean, how do you do that?
It is. It takes practice.
Where's the directions?
I didn't know how to get rid of resentments until I started rubbing shoulders with Dr. Berger, and he taught me about emotional sobriety. I had no clue. I just thought, well, I'll get over it at some point. And sometimes time would go by and I forget,
right?
But
it's still there.
But it was still there, and sometimes I wouldn't even realize it, but it would spark something else, maybe I see something in somebody else that reminded me of this guy, and without even knowing it consciously, I'm starting to get ticked off all over again. Resentments that aren't dealt with usually don't just go away.
Nope.
But I had no idea how to do that.
I used to talk to the guys a lot about. I just totally lost my train of thought about these. I guess you'd call them resentments, right?
Yeah.
And it's if we're continuing to think about something for a long period of time, we just need to start replacing it with something else.
Yeah, writing
totally
over the
just
old information.
Running because I totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
To crap up as I'm going. But I had a really good point, and just went. Yeah. Here, do that again.
There you go.
Don't you hate when that happens?
I do. It's funny because I make fun of my wife for this, and I'd never admit to it, but I guess I'm admitting to it now. I guess, I don't know if it's an age thing or whatever, but you'll be talking, and you're right in the middle of a sentence, and you forget what you're saying. And then you got to...
That's what I'm talking about.
It's like, my poor wife...
Here we go. Ready?
Ready? Yep. She'll say, the other day I'll say, finish your sentence. She goes, I don't remember. I'll never admit that I do that. Oh my God.
You just did.
I know. Well, listen, I just, again, congratulations, Roger McDermott, on 26 years of continuous sobriety, and not just sobriety, but really applying and implementing the spiritual disciplines of the steps in your life and giving that away. What a gift. And Dave, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family. And
same to you, buddy.
Thank you for everything that you've done. How long have you been doing this with us now?
I think it was 2017.
5
I know
years?
that first year I was kind of trying to get the program up and going and building stuff. And
wow,
yeah, I think it wasn't until the following year, 2017, and then when I started coming over once a month, I think it was.
Yeah.
Dip out at lunchtime and come zip over here, and we'd do a show, and then I'd zip on back and finish up the day.
And right next to you, if you're watching on YouTube, that's the Take 12 Radio gnome tree There's little gnomies hanging there. Yeah. and that's Sherwood. That's Sherwood, the Christmas gnome sitting next to Dave there. He's here all year long. He'll be here all year long.
I think he's sleeping.
All right. If you'd like to email us, our email address is take12radio. That's the number 12, take12radio at comcast.net. If you'd like to subscribe to the shows, you can do that for fun and for free. And you can also do that on any of the podcasting platforms listed at take12radio.com. Or just search for Take 12 Recovery Radio wherever you get your podcast. All right. Our closing song, keeping it lighthearted, Rule 62, if you will, is by Joe Diffie. You know who Joe Diffie is?
I do.
Yeah. And so here we go, folks. Little redneck humor for you with Leroy the Redneck Reindeer.
Well, you've all heard the story about Rudolph and his nose. But I'll tell you a Christmas tale that never has been told. Well, you may think you've heard it all, but you ain't heard nothing yet about that crazy Christmas that the North Pole can't forget. Rudolph was under the weather. He had to call in sick. So he got on the horn to his cousin Leroy, who lived out in the sticks. He said, Santa's really counting on me, and I hate to pass the buck. Leroy said, hey, I'm on my way, and he jumped in his pickup truck. When Leroy got to the North Pole, all the reindeer snickered and laughed. They'd never seen a deer in overalls and a John Deere tractor hat. But Santa stepped in and said, just calm down, 'cause they've all got a job to do. And like it or not, Leroy's in charge, and he's gonna be leading you. And it was Leroy, the redneck reindeer, looked to the front of the sleigh, delivering toys to all the good old boys and girls along the way. With just a down-home party animal, two-stepping across the sky. He makes jingle bells with the rebel yell and made history that night. Before that night was over, Leroy had changed their tune. He had them scooting a hoof on every single roof by the light of a neon moon. Santa wrapped his bag with a Dixie flag. He was having the time of his life. And you could hear him call, Merry Christmas, y'all, and all of y'all a good night. And it was Leroy, the redneck reindeer, looked to the front of the sleigh, delivering toys to all the good old boys and girls along the way. He's just a down-home party animal, two-stepping across the sky. He makes jingle bells with the rebel yell and made history that night. He makes jingle bells with the rebel yell and made history that
Leroy the Redneck Reindeer by Mr. Joe Diffie. Now, check it out. You don't want to miss our shows that are coming up. This Wednesday will be a short Monty'man's Holiday Recovery Meditorial. And then on Friday, on another episode of Walking Through the Language of the Heart, Chris S. and myself, and who knows who may be joining us, we will be talking about AA's Tradition 5 and 6. That's on Walking Through the Language of the Heart, where we go through each chapter of this wonderful book of Bill W.'s grapevine writings from 1944 to 1970. And then the following Monday, the topic we'll be making a gratitude list, and that will be on Take 12 Recovery Radio's presentation of Entitled to Overcome, Solutions for Life Today, with Dave Fleming and, of course, Roger McDermott and myself. Don't forget, you can catch up on all of our shows and all of our recovery workshops by visiting us at take12radio.com and subscribing to any of the podcasting platforms listed there. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty'man along with the rest of the Take 12 Recovery Radio family. And we are hoping that whatever you do this holiday season, that you stay safe and give to someone else less fortunate than yourself. Till next time, we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
This is ridiculous.